What's up guys, Retro Gamer Gen X back with part 2 of the Amiga repair video. Now if you guys haven't watched part 1, go ahead and check that link above and go ahead and watch that first. That's where we diagnose what's wrong with this computer to come up with this repair solution. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch that first. I'm posting that above here right now. Now there's a couple things that I wanted to get to before we start this repair. One, I just wanted to kind of say that I am not an expert in the electronics field, guys. I don't have a degree in electrical engineering or anything like that. Now, I did work in this field a little over 20 years ago. My first time with HP, I worked in their measurement division before it got sold off to Allegiant, and they laid us all off. But we did go, basically, I printed circuit boards. I die bonded, where we put the little microchips onto the circuit board and then bond the little tiny wires that are smaller than a human hair from the chip to the board. We did rework, we did desoldering, soldering. That's where I learned how to read schematics, data sheets, architecture, all that kind of stuff. Basically, I learned there. Now, before that, in high school, I took some soldering classes in high school. And I'm going to post some videos down below because this is not going to be a video showing you guys how to desolder and solder. I'm not going to be the guy to show you how to do that. Everybody has their own techniques on how to do it. And in fact, I'm going to be fast forwarding through those sections because they're long and I'm not going to let you guys sit there while I'm soldering for a half an hour. But I'm not going to show you guys how to do it. If you're interested on how to solder, I'm going to post some links down below to Pace International. And what's funny, these are the same videos that we watched in high school on how to solder. And there's some great information in here, guys. If you don't know how to solder, if you want to brush up your soldering skills, definitely check out these videos down below from Pace International showing you how to solder. Now, with that being said, like I said, I'm no expert in the electronics field. If you guys decide to do this repair to your Amiga 2000 yourself and you screw things up, it's not my fault because I'm not showing you technically how to do it. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. If you don't have the skills or the expertise to do something like this, and you want to learn, definitely learn on some like broken toy of your kids that you could take apart and start desoldering and soldering things on. That is a good start to do things with. Just broken stuff that you know that you're not going to want to repair. Just start practicing on that. And then once you get good enough, then you can move on to the things that you actually want to repair. So that's kind of my little tidbit information for people out there that are kind of novices at soldering. But anyway, let me go ahead and get everything set up here, guys, and yeah, we'll go ahead and start the repair on this thing. All right, guys, so here's the board here. I already went ahead and took out the CPU and the Kickstart ROM, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys these sockets here. And as you can see, they are pretty much toast. I mean, if you barely touch that chip, or if this board was just slightly touched in the least bit, it would start screwing up and go to the yellow screen of death again. And that is because of like this pin here, that pin there, that pin there's hosed. Most of the pins here on the Kickstart ROM are completely hosed. There's just no spring left to the inside of these. They've just completely corroded away. And if we look at like a normal one, like a brand new one of these type of sockets, you can see what they look like on the inside as opposed to those ones. So it goes to show you how bad those sockets truly are, and Commodore, how really crappy the quality of sockets they used. And here's the one where we're going to be replacing in the CPU socket, and these are much better. So if you can find the ones with the circular input pins or whatever those are called, yeah, that's definitely the ones to go with. So I don't think I'll have any more problems with this board after this. And then for the battery, I've got one of these little button battery Amigakit kits to be putting in there, so we won't have any more battery leakage issues. So let me go ahead and get some flux on this board, some more solder on here. That way we can start desoldering this stuff. And like I said, through that process, guys, I'm gonna film it, but I'm gonna fast forward it so you guys don't have to watch it. And I might actually cut some of it out because it's going to be kind of redundant. Even through fast forward, it's probably going to take a long time. So we might end up cutting all this stuff out. But essentially what we're going to be replacing is this socket, this socket. We're going to be putting the new battery in here. We're going to be replacing this cap, this cap, this cap, and this cap right here. Simply because they're all within that area where the battery corrosion was. Even though it only got to this part right here, guys, it seems like it might have followed the traces and actually corroded the things along the traces as well. And that's how it got into these sockets. And that's why I'm just going to replace these caps. I've actually pulled this one off already and tested it, and it tests fine, but I don't want to take any chances. Just in case the corrosion got to any of these caps, I don't want them blowing up on me while I'm playing games and stuff. So, all right, let's go ahead and get to it, guys. Alright guys, so some time has passed since the last time I was recording here. That recording turned out to be quite long, and I am going to edit it, and I'm going to cut to this. So as you guys can see, I did go ahead and get the actual socket removed there. Now that corrosion that I saw coming up in the socket did make it to the actual traces, or the pads. It looks like a couple of them are lifted, but honestly, they still have continuity through them, so I think they're going to be okay once we get them soldered in. So I don't think any bodge wires are going to be in place here. So, but it did take some time, guys. I think I'm going to film just this part of me desoldering that, and the rest I'm going to kind of cut out, because I did this side and then I took the desoldering braid and some flux and started getting all this all loose and everything. Same with this side. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get this, get some flux on here, get everything all soldered. When you guys put these CPU sockets in, or any kind of socket, make sure that you check the board and which way pin 1 is. Pin 1 is right here. It's oriented here because you can see the little dip And these things here have the same thing. They have the little dip right there. So this socket would go in just like this. So that's how we're going to install this bad boy. Now, once you get it in there, another tip I have is the two corners, those pins, go ahead and either bend in or out, and that way they stay in place. And then kind of flip the board around, make sure everything's nice and square. And then solder those pins and a couple middle pins and some of these pins, and then check again and make sure everything's nice and square and nothing's raised off the board. And then just go ahead and go at it. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and get the socket put in. I'm going to kind of do that off of camera because there's still a little bit of solder in those holes I got to get out. So I got to work on that still. And then I'll go ahead and cut to when I'm actually soldering this in. All right, guys. So I basically got the socket in. I've got a couple of the corner pins bent a little bit so it stays nice and straight. It's going to anyway because it's pretty tight in there. This is a good socket. So what we're going to do is put a little bit more flux down, and we're going to put some solder on these joints. Then we're going to test them. Basically, I'm going to try to test each pin to basically each via it goes to, just to make sure it's connected and it's got continuity, nothing's shorted out, nothing's crazy. Then we'll pop the CPU in, then we'll go ahead and get everything connected back up just to see if it boots up, because in electronic work, guys, you guys don't want to do something like replace the CPU socket and the ROM socket and then do some capacitors and other work and then turn it on and find out that it doesn't work, because then you really don't know what component is messed up. So always take it step by step. So replace the CPU socket, check it out, make sure everything works afterwards. If you're good, you're golden, and move on to the next thing. I definitely suggest doing that, guys. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get everything. I got the soldering iron warming up again because I took a quick break for a little while. But it's warming up, and as soon as it does, I'm going to go ahead and rub some flux on this real quick just to get that started. And yeah, we'll get going here, guys. All right, guys, so we got the CPU socket put in here, and as you guys can see, everything looks pretty good under there. It looks like I need to clean it up maybe a little bit better. But I'm going to go ahead and check all the pins and the traces and everything from like here to all the vias on the board. Just make sure that continuity is good and make sure everything's good. So as you guys can see, some things have changed once again a little bit here. So I did go ahead and put in the battery holder for the real-time clock, and I also installed the capacitors. I figured I'd just do that off camera because honestly that's kind of boring work. But I did want to bring this up, guys. If you guys have seen me using this is my de-soldering pump. I don't have one of those fancy de-soldering stations. And for all you guys that think that you can't do this kind of work with one of these, you can. I mean, honestly, it's not that hard. It just takes a little bit more time and a little bit more patience, and you can get it done. I'm actually going to go against what I said, and I'm going to just go ahead and put the Kickstart socket in, simply because I'm having problems with that anyway, and if I turn it on and it's going to the yellow screen of death or something again, and I don't want to think it's the CPU I just installed. So in this case, because I was having problems with both chips, I'm just going to go ahead and knock both of them out, guys. All right, guys, so we got everything installed. We got the Kickstart socket installed. We got the CPU socket installed. We got the battery holder, whatever the hell you want to call it, installed. We got the caps installed. This one's already crooked from me turning it over. But it looks like everything's good to go. So now it's just a matter of putting these chips in and the battery and everything else here that we got. So let's go ahead and do that. Now let me just check out this Kickstart ROM again. I did clean off these legs one more time, and they look 100% better. So they're nice and clean. So let's go ahead and stick this bad boy in. Excuse me if I'm in the way, guys, but I got to make sure all these legs are nice and even and straight. Goodness. Oh yeah, that was in there nice and tight. Let me tell you, that is tight. All right, so next, CPU here. Got the CPU in, we got the Kickstart ROM in, so we're good to go there. Got the battery in, so we're ready to plug this thing in. So let me go ahead and switch up camera angles or something here, and we'll see if this thing will boot up for us. So I got everything all hooked up here. Let's go ahead and see if she works. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on. Looks good so far, guys. So I don't have the disk drives hooked up, so it's just saying that it needs the workbench. So it looks like it's booting up just fine, guys. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Let me do a couple of other things here, guys. I need to get a mouse and a keyboard and get this disk drive hooked up and see whether or not we have a real-time clock or not. That's another thing I want to look at. So let's go ahead and check that out. I got everything all hooked up, got the keyboard, mouse, got workbench in the disk drive. So let's see what happens here. She boots up so nice now. No more error codes, no more flashing power lights. It looks so good. Workbench has a read-write error. Oh no, that's not good. I was actually running into a problem getting this to boot on this system. It turns out that it was the floppy drive cable. It's messed up. If I have it just like this, it'll work. So I'm going to need a new floppy drive cable. And I thought I could use one out of a PC, which is actually the same kind of floppy drive cable. But if you notice, it has one pin there that is blocked off, and it's fine because that's the way it is on the Amiga motherboard, but not on these drives. They have all the pins, so I couldn't connect the new cable. Oh, I'm telling you guys. So I'm going to have to order a cable specifically for the Amiga 2000 or an Amiga system here, I guess. But anyway, as you guys can see, I've got Workbench up and running. It's still thinking that it's October 10th, 1978, so we're going to go ahead and change the time here and the date. Let's go ahead and do that. So what is today anyway? Today is, I don't even know what today is. Friday the 4th. I know that you guys are going to be watching this on Tuesday, but so the 4th, and it's November, and it's, yeah, it'll probably be faster going this way. 2020. Thank God for the Y2K thing doesn't exist on on this thing. So it is 7, but does it do military time? I bet you it does, doesn't it? Oh, nope. Yep. 20. So what would military time be? 7 o'clock would be 1900 hours. And we were at 53 minutes. 1953. So let's go ahead and save that. Alright guys, I thought I'd show you this too. So to set the system clock, the actual real-time clock on the Amiga, you can't just go into preferences and change it there. So if you change the date there, it changes it temporarily until you turn the computer off, but it doesn't set it to the actual system clock or the real-time clock. So to do that, what you got to do is you got to go into here, into your command line, and then type in set clock. Okay. Once you have it saved, and then go opt save. Okay. Once you have it set in the preferences, once you've set the clock and the date, then you go into your command line, do set clock opt save, and when it's done, it sets the clock to the system clock. So I had it wrong. I had it at 8:05. It's actually 20. So now let's turn this thing off and see if it actually is doing what it's supposed to do, guys. So it should have saved it. So when Workbench boots up here, it should give us the actual time and date now. Alright guys, I don't know if you saw it flash up there, but it did give you the actual time and date of what it is now. So that's actually pretty cool. So we got everything all up and running, everything's connected back up on the desk like it's supposed to be. Everything is running as it should. And just for kicks and giggles, let's take a look at the clock real quick. No, I'm not using a tripod today, guys. I'm sorry, but it's been a long day trying to get working on this, so I just want to see one last thing, see if it's still showing today's date and time. So that was too funny, guys. So my camera just ran completely out of memory. I've been recording for so long. So I had to dump some stuff on my computer here to be able to record. But as you guys saw right at the end of that clip, it did say November and the time and this year. So we're good. But I did want to go ahead and boot up a game or something at the very end here. So I've got Altered Beast, Sega Altered Beast in here. So let's go ahead and boot this thing up. And I'm sorry guys, I don't have a tripod or anything, and I don't have the speakers hooked up either, unfortunately. But here it is. God, that booted up pretty damn fast, but that's just the title screen. I was like, man, am I running an accelerator card? But wait, guys, there's more. So this is going to be kind of like a multi-part series. So this Amiga's not done. We're going to get the floppy drive emulator for it. We're also going to go ahead and get probably an accelerator card and some kind of hard drive solution. I don't know what, CF card or SD card or something. I'm going to have to figure something out. But yeah, I'm going to pimp out the old Amiga 2000 here. And then, of course, I got the old Amiga 500 still down there, and the Commodore 64, and the Apple IIe, and then I got the 600 XL over there, and another bread bin over there. So, you know, we're stacked up with computers here, but I'm glad to get this thing up and running again. And it hasn't had no problems. I've moved the case around. I've done everything. So it's working again, guys. So just really bad sockets. And, you know, Commodore, they used really bad parts back in the day. So it really doesn't surprise me, guys, that they corroded away like they did. And with the battery that corroded, I'm sure that corrosion followed the traces and got into like the sockets like that. I did check all the other sockets. Everything else looks good. It was just those couple up front and those caps, and of course where the battery was, and cleaning everything up and getting it going again. So it's good to have this old Amiga up and running. Well, anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. It's been a long day. I took forever to do that. The whole process actually took me about 8 hours, but I took my sweet time. Yeah, 8 hours. But I took my sweet time, and I was eating in between things and doing other things, and, you know, life's got to go on. So I was taking plenty of breaks in between. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great one, and look out for part 3 when I get the floppy emulator, guys. And then I'll get the cable as well, too, with that, so that I won't have that issue with the cable. Right now, I got the cable in there just a certain way so that it actually works. Kind of funny that the floppy cable is screwed up, too. My God, what else could go wrong with this computer, guys? All right, I'm out of here. Peace out, y'all.